Welcome to Go Big or Go DCOM. I'm Cece Ciccone.
And I'm Kelsey Bowman.
Kelsey, what did we watch this week?
The Luck of the Irish.
That was pretty good.
Thank you.
Not gonna lie.
I practiced.
Really quickly, I just have to switch my screen. All right, there we are. This movie, stranger than I remembered.
This is what I can only describe as a surrealist horror film.
It does at the end, it gets very concerning. But man, it was good.
It was good. It was some background for me on the Luck of the Irish is this was my dad's favorite DCOM.
Wow.
He loved it. This came out in March of 2001, a week before St. Patrick's Day.
Yep.
So it's actually a pre 9/11 movie.
Yeah, that actually surprised me because there were some things that I thought.
It's very patriotic.
Yeah,
like
it is
American
very
patriotic.
Yeah.
This movie, we must have watched it with my dad originally. I don't remember like watching it for the first time, but he loved it so much. I went online and found like whatever Disney website you could buy DCOMs on, and I ordered. This is the DCOM I ordered on VHS.
Wow.
So I found it online. I was 6 at VHS because like people didn't really buy things online back then.
Yeah.
So but my parents ordered it because my dad was like, I always want to be able to watch this on St. Patrick's Day. He loved it. So you've talked about being Italian and being raised very Italian, but like my dad was very like Irish and raised very Irish. So we did like they sing Molly Malone at one point. I sang along with because I know that song.
I don't know what that is.
I grew up listening to like Irish music. So cockles and mussels, alive. Oh yeah. So this was like really fun. This movie really felt like if my dad wrote a movie, it would have been this movie. It was weird and it was out there. It was very, very Irish. They go, it's not just like, oh, we're Irish. They go deep into like Irish heritage stuff and with the hurling and
the clans. Yeah, more and like Gaelic stuff.
Yeah, and then it was still like you said, it gets very American patriotic.
Yeah,
my dad was, so it was funny to, and everyone hates Ohio, which my dad was from Michigan. Really funny. So Michigan and Ohio are like rivals in college football. So that my dad hated Ohio. So like that was all cool. I was like, oh my gosh, Mike Bowman, are you in the room with us now? And so it was really funny and it was really fun and it really brought back all those memories. And like, so my dad died over a decade ago at this point. So it like really brought back a lot of that, like, I don't know, just like that, like, just growing up doing Irish stuff. So that was tons of fun.
We're hitting the nostalgia early on. I am 0% Irish. 0% Irish. But
I'm sorry.
I watched this movie like at least once a year, like in my Disney Channel watching days. Yeah, it is really fun. This is one of the DCOMs that I remember the most. That like if someone like pressed me and said give me 10 DCOMs, that this would be on my list.
Definitely.
So yeah, it's really good.
And our star, Ryan Merriman, is also in Smart House, another iconic DCOM.
Right. So he was a few years younger in that one.
Some DCOM royalty here.
Well, he's also in Ring of Endless Light.
Which is
a DCOM. Just a side
but another classic one.
Another classic, yeah, another early one. So he was, that spiky hair man. So yeah, so he's our main character. We kind of open up with this discussion of like what is heritage
with a nightmare sequence. I am really going to focus on the fact that this is like it's very and I'm going to say this not as a super theater person, but I will defend this. It feels like a very Kubrick-esque film in the sense that it's like the surrealism and the like there are some camera angles when he looks in the mirror to look at his ears later, when he's asking his parents about his heritage around the dinner tables. The angles are weird and they're not necessarily centered, and sometimes they're from below, and it gives it that like horror thriller aspect to some extent.
I think his home life, especially, like that's where we see it. Like, I don't know, like you get this you know right away. Okay, so first of all, very weird, like in early, at the turn of the century, nobody had a problem with being Irish.
Right?
So anyway, so it starts, yeah, with a dream sequence, but it's like this presentation of heritage. And our main character, Kyle, doesn't know his heritage. And like it's
Right.
very funny, like he like asks his parents, like, what's our heritage? And they're like, well, we're American. Which yeah,
I'm
like
from
like
Cleveland.
yeah, and then he like presses them like no, but like because one of his friends said, Americans are all immigrants basically, unless you're
Right.
Native American, which is true. And so like what is your heritage? Yeah, and so when he presses them, his dad goes, "Well, I'm from Cleveland."
And we also never learn his dad's heritage. I love the idea that his dad was like, oh, no one cares. Once we found out the mom was
Yeah.
Irish and a
Oh,
leprechaun, I was like, whatever.
I assumed that his dad was Irish too. That was
Just
just
not
kind
a
of
leprechaun.
just not a leprechaun. Because anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves here a little bit.
Okay. So yes, we start with a nightmare where he's supposed to come on stage and talk about his heritage, but he's teeny tiny and no one can hear him, which is a pretty normal nightmare. It's obviously foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm.
And then he wakes up, he asks his parents, there's a heritage day at school next week.
Yeah, and he wants to
So
know what to
that's why he's
present him,
asking.
basically.
And so his mom's like, don't worry about it. Go put on your lucky coin and go play at your basketball game tonight. So he's playing at a basketball game. He's our star player. He is
He
great.
hits every shot, like doesn't even try. Yeah, that he's the star player, Kyle Johnson. There you go.
And then the next day we're at school. Everyone loves it. We're like, Kyle, we love you. And he like randomly fills out answers on a test. He gets every single thing right. It just shows he's like the luckiest.
Yeah, he finds money on the
live.
sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
Like
everything
all of these
like
things.
that.
Just
and
like
then he has dinner with his parents again, and his mom is serving salad out of a ridiculous bowl. And their dining room's green, which I thought painted green, which I thought was fun staging. And this is where the camera angles are. It's so obvious that his parents are hiding something, which they are.
Right, and
camera angles are a
but you're
little
right.
off.
It is very surreal. It's like whatever his parents are hiding from him, like would hurt him.
Yes.
Like yeah, it's like you kind of get this feeling that like he wants to know and you want to know because like you're nosy, but you don't really want to know because something bad's gonna happen if you find out.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you're little and you're like, oh, is there something under the bed? Don't look under the bed. Disney did and Disney did dabble in the like child thriller movies as well. So this wasn't like a crazy concept. I don't know when Don't Look Under the Bed.
So
Don't Look Under the Bed was before this.
You know what's funny, because of some of the stuff that happens later in the movie, I found myself Googling when the horror movie Leprechaun came out.
Yes.
Because like very seriously, because I remember there was a This American Life episode where anyway, this is like a total side story, but like a substitute teacher showed like a class of kindergartners Leprechaun the movie, thinking it was like a fun St. Patrick's Day movie, and then like all the children got traumatized. And anyway, I've never seen it, but from that episode,
I've seen Leprechaun 4 in the hood.
It sounds like it's terrifying. It sounds yeah, I don't do well with like made up creatures and whatnot. So but anyway, so there is that level, like I said, because of what happens later in the movie. Yeah, that like it could be a horror
could be very
movie.
right. The idea of like, oh, I know there's nothing under the bed. I know there's nothing under the bed, but I'm psyching myself up to look because what if there is something under the bed? It gives you that feeling.
And you're like, you don't want to know, but you do want to know.
You do want to know. It's true.
Yeah, so there's this big question, and he's having this like identity crisis. I would say, because he's like, there's something they're not telling me. He was totally fine with telling people he was American or from Cleveland or whatever, but he's like, there's something that I don't know about myself. And while they're waiting for the bus, they see this like flyer for I guess it's like an Irish step dancer, but it's like a whole festival.
So he tries to look up his parents online and he can't find anything, which their last name is Johnson. So like, of course they can't find anything.
And then he looks in the yearbook.
He realizes his dad changed his name at some point, which
Mhm.
is sus.
But his dad was literally Bob Smith.
And now he's Bob Johnson.
And so
Bob
he's
Smith
like,
wasn't anonymous enough.
right, he was like, don't you think if you change your name, it would be a little bit more like
It's
recognizable?
true. So he and his best friend Russell, we need to discuss Russell. Russell is black. We have a black best friend. This is a trope.
Yeah. Um,
Russell has a passing comment where he says he's part Cherokee. We need to discuss the fact that most black people in this country do not know their heritage because of the slave trade. And
it's true. And that's why I think more and more we're moving away from the phrase African American, because we don't know, you know?
We don't know. And a lot of them are like, I don't necessarily feel connected to Africa because I don't get to, because I was taken from Africa. My ancestors were taken from Africa.
Right.
And so I thought that was not something that aged well, was the fact that we don't address that with Russell. Like, what's Russell going to present at Heritage Day?
Right.
There is a throwaway comment later about it, but I think there could have been a really good talk where they bonded over
Like
not knowing
knowing
their heritage.
That's a really interesting thought.
Russell saying something like, you have the chance to, and like, I'll probably never have that, and I'm happy for you. Something like that, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a person of color, so I probably wouldn't write that scene, but I would collaborate with people of color. I think that it could have really improved it, and I think that if this movie were made now, something like that probably would have been included.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. And yeah, no, it's just another movie with, like you said, the black best friend trope. Where, yeah, you have a black best friend that's supporting the white main character.
Yes. Bonnie, our main female, is Hispanic. She's the one who helps him in the library, and she's going to help him throughout it later. She's great. She's not an actor anymore. She did a couple little Disney Channel things and then just went about living her life.
For her character, her like mom, or Kyle's mom, identifies her as like an overachiever, as like, because I think she's like the school president, and she's the one
head of the Heritage Day committee,
right? And she's the one that tells Kyle like, everyone's from somewhere, like you're not from Cleveland,
right?
And kind of, you know, pushes him. All right, so now we get to
an Irish fair thing at the Irish fairgrounds,
and the reason that kind of piqued their interest was that Kyle has a lucky coin that he wears. And and he noticed on the flyer, it had the same design on the flyer as was on his lucky coin. So that was kind of what got him to say like, oh, well, let's go check this out. Maybe I'll find something.
Right.
So yeah, so then they go to the festival, you know, it's fun. There's lots of stuff going on. They bump into an elderly man who, like,
super weird. If I bumped into this man, I would be so weirded out.
Kind of speaking in riddle a little bit, like,
yeah. He's like, did your mom make your shoes? And he's like, no, I bought my shoes at a store, which is how I like would have responded it. They're supposed to be like 13. They say it's junior high.
Yeah, it's junior high. Yeah, they do. And so, like, you kind of have this weird interaction, and Kyle is like kind of weirded out by it, and it's like, okay. And then they go to the performance of the Saint of the Step.
Saint of the Step.
And there, it's an Irish dancing like crew that is led by Seamus McTiernan.
What a name.
Is played by Timothy Omenson, who is Lassie in Psych. Did you watch that?
No, never. I saw a couple episodes. I had a friend who liked it.
He's a police officer that was kind of always foiling the main character. Sort of.
Not I thought really. You were going to say he was in Degrassi.
No. He's a little bit too old for that. But yeah, you know, he was not the villain, but like,
right,
you know, just a foil.
He is the villain here.
He is. Wow. Okay.
What a villain.
So, like,
he's the Saint to the Step. Sorry. Were you going to talk about this scene, or are you going to?
Well, I was just going to say, like, villain energy. In Teen Beach Movie, like, the villain was, like, goofy. You know? There is no goofiness.
No goof.
This is like evil.
Like an adult surrealist film.
Right. Yeah, I
I
don't
mean, it's for
disagree.
children, obviously. But like I said, my dad loved this movie and we sat and watched it together. This is one that we watched several
Yeah,
times.
there's so much here.
My mom
Um,
liked this movie too. We'd watch it while either he or her, they got
well,
divorced recently, so not long after this came out. So then they would each make Irish stew
yeah,
every year.
and you
And
would
like,
watch this.
yeah, while they cooked Irish stew. It takes like 6 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Xenon, this has DCOM energy. This is just
It does, it
classic
does have
DCOM
DCOM
energy.
energy.
Even though it is like there's some darkness to it. Um,
But like we just said, there are dark DCOMs. Don't Look Under the Bed is like scary.
I've never seen it.
Oh, we're gonna watch it.
Is it a
We're
DCOM?
gonna go, yeah, and we're
Okay,
gonna go
cool.
into some of the darker ones September and October, because there's a lot
Yeah,
of Halloween ones. So
there
we're
are a
probably gonna
lot of
do like
Halloween ones.
Halloween Towns straight through October and maybe do a couple in
Yeah.
September too. I
Well,
mean,
then
there's
you
a
have
lot.
Twitches, yeah, there's so many. Um, I
Luckily, we've got 2 Halloweens to cover them because we are doing this till April of 2026, baby.
well, when I was doing a little bit of the background research for this, um, I saw someone compare it to Can of Worms, which I haven't
Mm,
seen, except for I've seen the cover of it, and it
also
does,
scary.
yeah, it does look very, like you said, like surrealist, like, um, so yeah, so as the steppers are stepping,
And as they touch you, you start stepping and you don't control it. And we don't. It's giving Zendaya from Zapped, which our surprise release last week.
yes, yeah.
But
Yeah,
uh,
so Kyle finds himself just like dancing, like
yeah,
uncontrollably. And Russell's like, dude, what are you doing? And he's just like,
what are
I
you
don't
doing?
know.
And the step, he's such a good step dancer. They must
Yes.
have trained him, and he's like doing his own step for sure. I love
Yeah.
river dancing. I can't do it, but I love to watch.
Yeah. It is. It's super fun. So, so yeah, so and as he was walking around the festival, actually, a little bit before the performance, he saw like coins that look just like his
Mm-hmm.
in for sale. And he makes the point, he says, no, 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 mine is real gold. So like that's kind of where we get this sense that like the
His
the
is
coin
special.
the coin is something.
And as he's dancing, he gets knocked to the ground by someone
Yes.
who then picks him back up, gives him a little necklace of like beads, like Irish, whatever, flowers, green and white flowers. And he's like, oh, sorry, bud, and sends him on his way. And we're kind of like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. So Kyle at this point he kind of has this lead that he thinks he's Irish.
Mm-hmm.
And when he wakes up the next morning, he's like he's like looking in the mirror, he's just like something is off, right?
He's like, I don't line up with my mirror how I did yesterday.
Right, like he's maybe a little bit shorter.
And he goes downstairs, and his mom her hair, amazing. Big, curly, red, gorgeous. She turns around. She's talking in an Irish accent. He's like, Dad, is mom talking funny?
And she's talking in an Irish accent, and she has made like a full Irish breakfast.
Bangers and mash, blood pudding. I mean, just.
Yeah. And he's like, what is blood put?
And she ate super healthy before that. They like that salad
Yeah.
for dinner.
So it's
And
just like
so it's
me
very out of
and
character.
his dad says like, isn't this a little bit bad for the cholesterol?
Yeah.
Because it's just they're like, oh, okay, like whatever. And then his mom gives him this like metal pail of like meat to take for
It's
lunch.
I don't remember what it's called, but it's mashed potatoes and cabbage, and then it's a boiled pig's foot.
Oh,
That's their
okay.
Irish foods.
So that's what he brings for lunch. Um, and his dad, well, his dad is what says we're Irish here.
Yeah.
So I assume that means his dad too, right?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, and so
So his dad's like, we're Irish. And
we
Kyle's like,
weren't gonna tell you, but now we are. And Kyle's like, okay, it's kind of weird, but
and is
okay.
this where they comment something about like when they first came, like people didn't really like the Irish
Yes.
people, and so we didn't want to tell you, which like
Yeah, all the
doesn't make
signs in the
sense.
windows that said Irish need not apply.
Yeah, and I don't know.
And
It's
he's like,
it's
Mom, that was 100 years ago.
And it's funny, I took this class in college that was the Italian American experience. And in the not like my grandparents' generation, um, my grandfather experienced very real persecution for being Italian.
Mhm.
And like his name is Giovanni Nunzio, and his
Wow.
college diploma says John Nathan
Oh,
on it. Like
Giovanni.
he didn't want anybody to know. Um, and I took this class, and it was an Italian instructor, and we had this guest speaker from the Italian American Alliance come in, and she said like how do people today deal with the stereotypes and the difficulty of being Italian American? And the guy goes, we don't have that anymore. That's kind of what it feels like here. It's like, yeah, like there was a
Yeah.
time when being Irish was like not wanted, but then the Italians came.
Italians came.
and the focus shifted, and
And there,
now it's
yeah.
like, and
And
then
there's
the
other people, I
Hispanics
mean,
came, and now it's not an issue for us,
yeah,
like
now
it's
is
just
if you're lighter skinned, it's just sort of like you're a white European.
right. Oh,
In Europe,
absolutely.
it's much more European. People kept being like, my last name's Bowman, and they kept being like, where? When I lived in Europe, they were like, where's Bowman from? Is it Dutch? And I was like, I am pretty sure it's Irish, but like I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I didn't trace it back, and
So
they were like so upset.
yeah,
But
so
but
the
yeah,
like we didn't want you to know that you were Irish because we didn't want you to like experience bullying because of it, just like makes no sense. And
no
And
sense.
Kyle says that basically. He's like, this was what you were hiding from me.
Right.
Not that we're like descendant from Al Capone or like something like that. Like
Right. Neither of y'all have like murdered anyone. We're just
right.
Irish.
It's fine.
Okay.
So he goes to school that day. On his way, he picks up a dollar bill, which is like a very standard thing for him because he finds money all the time on the ground. And when he does that, as he's leaning over, like a car runs by and he gets all wet, and then like the books fall out of his book bag. It was just like not normal for him.
Yeah, the books fall out of his book bag. He forgot it. He lost his homework.
Hmm.
The nasty lunch his mom made him fell all over him. He lost his lunch money.
Yeah.
Someone gives him a free piece of cake and it falls on him. I mean, just thing after thing after thing.
Yeah.
And
He's at
this says,
basketball practice and he like shoots a
oh
ball
yeah, you have
and
to
it
stay
misses.
until you make 10 free throws. He cannot make a free throw. And
And
then
remember,
Bonnie
he,
comes
he
in
never missed a shot
ever.
before. Right. So
And
this
then
is
Bonnie
like
comes in and
total
she's
mistake.
like, maybe it's good when things don't come easy to you. Things have always come easy to you. Maybe you'd be better if you had to work hard.
Mm. I don't know how I feel about that. Maybe.
Maybe. Well, I was thinking at this point, is he even good at basket? Is he
Right, right,
even
right.
good at anything?
Sure,
And
like he hasn't had to work
to
for it.
try. Hard
Yeah.
work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So
Yeah,
it's
I don't
good
know
to
that I
try.
agree with that statement necessarily all the time, but yeah, I mean, I think and it did, it crossed my mind, like, has he ever like had to learn something new and like, experience that gratification? But in the end, I mean, it builds your character. It doesn't actually, um,
True.
if you have the same result. But the big thing is that they're in science class, and the teacher asks, what three metals does are attracted to a magnet? And do you remember them, Kelsey?
Iron, nickel,
Cobalt.
something else. Cobalt.
Cobalt, which I think is in steel. Anyway, um, and
Not gold. I think cobalt is in steel because like my car is stainless steel and so magnets stick to my car.
right.
But
Yeah,
magnets don't stick to newer aluminum cars.
right. Right.
My car's a little old.
So is mine.
Bless your
Um,
heart.
um, so they're there and they have, they're like testing different things with the magnet, and Kyle's necklace is attracted to the magnet. And Kyle's like,
And Russell's like, I thought you said that was gold.
right,
Russell called him
Russell
out.
right away is calling him out.
Boom, roasted.
And
You know
Kyle.
when my son roasted me the other day? Sorry, this isn't related. He was watching TV and I started singing the theme song and he goes, Mom, stop. I'm doing this by myself right now. roasted me. Anyway,
Roasted.
yeah.
Just
Russell calls him out, and Kyle's like, then this isn't my necklace. Mine is gold.
Right. Kyle's like, no, mine is gold.
And everything
And
starts
suddenly,
clicking.
right, he's like, this is why my luck is off. It's because I don't have my lucky coin. And so he goes home and he like wants to tell his parents because, obviously this is a big thing. He's, is a family heirloom. And he walks in and his mom is teeny tiny.
Tiny. She's got to be 6 inches tall.
Yeah. At one point he says like you're a foot tall, but I don't think she was a foot tall.
I don't think she's a foot. Yeah, on a good day.
But what's goofy is that his dad is obviously panicked. And his mom is just like having the time of her life.
She's
like apparently leprechauns are just like so joyful. They're just so happy.
Joyful. Not too worried. She's just
she's just like, this is how I am. Like, yeah. And like she's not worried. She's not like, and she's just like, oh, and you're a leprechaun too. But he's half leprechaun because his dad is.
So then we find out, where could the coin be? The dad's like, why is this happening? You're supposed to have your coin, and that's what he said. I came home to tell you it's a fake coin. So we're trying to deduce what happened. Where's the real coin? This is what he tells them. Yeah, he was at the Irish thing.
And his dad is like, you're not supposed to go there. So there's this whole level of like,
like it's an elephant graveyard.
Right. This whole like something bad will happen if you go to the Irish festival, which of course is like, then I'm gonna go.
Right.
And so yeah, so he's like,
don't give all your luck to a 13-year-old boy,
which they cover later.
They do cover, because I was like, this could all have been avoided if we just didn't give children all the luck and not tell them that they're leprechauns.
Well, anyway, so they're talking about the coin. We find out that the coin holds the clan's luck. That he is
the look of the clan O'Reilly.
He is part of the clan O'Reilly. And so he's like, so that's the luck. So they're trying to figure out, well, like someone would have had to know what it is, right? To like want to take it. And so he tells his parents about this running into this very strange old man. Because that's what left the biggest impression is he's like, well, there was this creepy old guy who asked me something about my shoes. And he must have taken it. I must not have noticed what he did.
And mom says,
that must be my father, Riley O'Reilly.
Amazing name.
Incredible.
Right. So yes,
that's when
she says that was, and they're like, he's like, what? And she's like, yeah, he owns this potato chip company.
The Emerald Isle Potato Chip Company. Incredible.
And he's like, why have we see him?
Like grandfather's here? Yeah, right. Like he didn't think he had any extended family at all. And then that's when we find out that because his dad is not a leprechaun and married the leprechaun, that then there was this trouble because I hate this. I'm trying to say it in like not awful things, but basically I mean that they wanted to be full-blooded leprechauns. And his dad messed that up.
Doesn't believe in interspecies dating.
Right. Yes. And so as a result, Kyle is half leprechaun, not full leprechaun. Which is part of why he's not the same size as his mom, but he is getting shorter. And
he does say, Mom, am I going to get to the size you are? And she says, you're only half leprechaun. It'll take you days to get to this.
Right. Size. I thought that too.
It's not super comforting, Mom.
So then the idea is, okay, so we need to get to the chip factory, right? That's what happens next. And basically, tell grandfather Riley O'Reilly that, we really need this back. And so this starts with, I think, the funniest scene of the movie, which is that Kyle's in the front seat of the car with his dad, and his mom like puts, when you used to just have a lap belt.
Yes.
Like is like clicks the lap belt, which is like the same size as her.
She like can't get out. It's the dad's like, hey honey, I think you should just stay in the car.
Yeah. I think it's Toy Story 2, Toy Story 1 when Buzz Lightyear like buckles himself in the back of the Toyota. And like
Yeah.
that's like exactly this. She is the size of Buzz Lightyear. Anyway, so I just love that physical comedy there. Um and so yeah, so they go to the factory and what happens next calls?
So we go to the factory. We ask to see Grandpa. We're denied. So Kyle sneaks in with a group of kids on a tour from his school, the
Mhm.
Young Achievers. Bonnie's in this group.
Right. So he
And
knows these kids.
there's a little bit of mayhem.
Yeah. Some good physical comedy. What did it reminded me of something? Oh, the Hannah Montana movie, which you have not seen.
Which I haven't seen.
Um, where they're kind of underneath the chip factory trying to get away from the security guards. And he runs into his grandfather and is like, I need
He's like, give
back.
me my coin back.
And his grandfather says something else about his shoes. It's very
He's
funny.
really into shoes. Grandpa is really
Yeah,
into
he's a
shoes.
cobbler. Um, and he's like, what do you mean I didn't take it?
He's
You
like, your
know,
mom probably took it and she's blaming on me so you won't like me, which doesn't
right.
really make sense, but it's okay.
Yeah, it didn't make sense.
And then he says,
Um,
why aren't you shorter? Why aren't your ears pointy? Because we see his ears are getting pointier. His hair is
yeah,
our main character. His hair, Kyle, his hair is getting red.
yeah,
We
he's
got red
turning
spiky tips
turning.
now.
I mean, they're pretty orange. I would say orange.
Orange. Orange.
Orange. Um, yeah. And so that's where, he's like, well, that's the clan's luck. And this is where Kyle says, well, why would you give it to me?
Yeah, exactly. And I thought that they get this the whole time, Kyle.
Kyle's like, you should not trust me.
We love a self-aware main character.
It's like there's so many other things that should have happened. Um
And Grandpa says
and
the young ones all have all the luck.
yeah, the young ones have all the luck. That's just what happens is that the youngest has the coin. And the coin is what allows, even though they are leprechauns, they're always leprechauns, but the coin is what allows them to pass as humans so that they can kind of, live among the world. And this was where I started having a question. And it got answered later, but obviously because of the coin and whatnot, the leprechauns were tied to magic. And I was like, well,
Yes.
what sort of magic? Because like his mom didn't say anything about magic and didn't like do anything magic except for shrink. But like do the leprechauns like can they use magic? Can they like make things? Like what exactly?
Seamus seems to be able to, but Seamus is not really a leprechaun according to the grandfather. He's some sort of fairy.
Yeah.
That's what he calls him. I can't remember the words that he uses.
And that's kind of what grandfather's like, yeah, Seamus must have taken the coin. Yeah. Wikipedia says he's just an evil leprechaun. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. But so they decide like we have to find Seamus because he has the coin. Russell somehow shows up around
Grandpa
here.
calls him a fair Derrick, which is like a Irish, a Celtic
like myth
fairy, which is part of why he says, "Oh, the fair Derrick love to gamble," which is what we see.
So that's why they're different from leprechauns. Interesting. Yeah, this movie is very Irish.
Very. I mean, it is. They talk about, I don't know, Ireland, that we're going to see in the sequence that they're playing old Irish games. Grandpa says
and I mean
Irish phrases. Kyle is going in and out of an Irish accent because he can't control it. He's becoming, and at one point he goes, "Oh, saints preserve us," and I like laughed out loud.
I did too, actually, at that one. Yeah, and they released it for St. Patrick's Day, but it's not actually like a St. Patrick movie. It's just like this is very culturally Irish. And so yeah, so
not a clover in sight.
Not a clover in sight. And so they're like, well, how do we find Seamus? And Riley O'Reilly reveals that he would be at the end of the rainbow. And Russell tries to mansplain to Riley O'Reilly that actually there is no end of a rainbow because it's just refracted light. And Riley O'Reilly is like, are you explaining how rainbows work to a leprechaun, which I think is hilarious. Very good movie.
It is a good movie. So okay, we have Dad's car won't start because we're not lucky anymore. And so Grandpa says, guess we'll have to take my car. Grandpa has the coolest car. He has like a cool lime green, like I want to say it's like an old Cadillac from the 60s. I don't know exactly what it is, but it is lime green, like Cadillac convertible from the 60s. I'm loving it. We're just vibing. Oh yeah, we pick up Russell along the way. Grandpa's got a crazy beard going because I guess that's what happened when old men start turning into leprechauns.
Yeah.
And
so
I'm just getting leprechaunier as we go.
Right. Smaller, pointed ears. Yeah, all of that. And so they do find Seamus because his Saint of the Step, like van truck sort of thing is
big
very
RV thing.
Recognizable.
Yeah, and Dad goes over to it. We send Dad over. The poor not leprechaun who was happily he earlier Kyle's like, are you a leprechaun too? And he goes, no, I'm from Cleveland. I thought that was funny too. It's a well-written movie. Like, it's a good movie.
Yeah, it is.
And anyway, so Dad sees it and he comes back and he's like, he's got so much gold in there. It's just tons of gold. Well, but Seamus sees us as Dad comes back, and then we have a chase sequence.
Yep. So then Seamus takes off in his RV and we follow him. And yeah, I don't know. Was there much more to say about that?
No, we follow him. We eventually get a flat tire during our chase sequence, and Kyle's like, get the spare. And Grandpa's like, well, I don't carry a spare because I'm a really lucky guy.
Right.
So I never needed a spare. And then it starts pouring rain on us. And everyone's kind of down. We're down in the dumps about it. Seamus has gotten away. We don't have a flat tire. It's raining really hard. It's 2001. We don't have a cell phone.
Oh, and this is where the rainbow happens.
Convertible top to go up, right? And Bonnie says, listen, we're American. And Americans pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Like, that's what the Irish did when they first came to this country, and they weren't making living wages. And this is where we get the line where Russell goes, at least they were getting paid. Good point, Russell. I hear you. I think we should have let you talk a little bit more at this point in time. And Bonnie's like, and we need to just make our own luck. It's not all about this coin. And this is when Kyle has a moment. He's like, I don't know if I was ever good at basketball. I don't know if I was ever good. And she says, there's more to life than basketball. And he goes, well, I'm not good at basketball or soccer either. Or baseball or soccer either. And she's like, there's more to life than sports, which just felt very much like something a 13-year-old boy would say. And she says, there's more to life than sports. And, you know, sometimes, again, like trying hard and working hard towards something is the point of it is sometimes the journey and the, like we said earlier, the character building of working hard at something.
Which again, and I think that was like one of the big points. I think that's what made me look up when in 2001 this came out, because that sounded so post 9/11 patriotism.
And just we're American,
like, and we can do this.
There's at the end it also obviously gets very which I was like, if you'd asked me if this movie, without checking if this movie came out in 2001 or 2002, I would have like bet my life on 2002, right,
because of the patriotism in it.
Right.
Yeah, and so eventually they do, though, find Seamus McTiernan.
Right, so we do pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, and you know, Dad goes to check the phone. Bonnie says, I better call my parents because I abandoned this Young Achievers thing. Oh, and she didn't even want to be a Young Achiever. She wanted to play basketball, but her parents said Young Achievers would be better on a college application, which you're in junior high. None of that's going on a college application, but I digress. And this is when the rain clears up and we do see a rainbow. So we just start running towards it, Kyle and
because the pot of gold.
Riley.
The pot of gold.
The pot of gold, right. And the leprechauns.
And so go ahead.
We look in, they're at like an Irish bar. And this is when it's playing Molly Malone, and they're sitting around and drinking, and they're singing Molly Malone, and I started singing Molly Malone because I know all the words. And so this was when I got like really hit with like just the nostalgia of that, and I wanted to start listening to Irish folk music. Probably will listen to it in the car after this when I go pick up my kids. And so like that was really fun. And so Kyle, and while they're distracted singing Molly Malone, Kyle and Grandpa break into the van. Russell's supposed to be lookout, and he doesn't do great, Russell, because we break into the van. And Grandpa's like, Kyle's like, this is my coin. I can just tell. I can feel it, which I guess leprechaun magic. And Grandpa's like, let's just take all the coins.
Right. He's like, yeah, we can't trust your feelings. We should take them all. And Kyle's like, no, that's not right, Grandpa. And Grandpa's very much set on.
I guess it's a leprechaun thing.
Yeah, well,
like he just can't help but take all the coin. Like I think it's supposed to be like a leprechaun.
Leprechauns are supposed to be mischievous, I think.
Yeah, it's a little tricky.
My sisters, when they were in 2nd grade, they had to make leprechaun traps for school. It's kind of cute. It is really cute. So yeah, as they're having though this discussion, yeah, Russell's not a very good lookout, and they end up getting caught.
Right. So they come in, Seamus grabs Grandpa, and then the door is open because Seamus has Grandpa, and we see like the 2 henchmen like walk past with Russell, and Russell's like, Kyle. It was just like I thought it was just a very funny way to let us know that like Russell had been caught too. They were like, I just felt like the directing, they're like, okay, you're gonna walk past, go that way. We're gonna crab walk across the screen, and Russell's gonna go, Kyle, and just keep going.
Yeah, so Seamus, he takes Grandpa, Mr. Riley O'Reilly, into custody. Into I don't know, presumably to be some sort of slave.
He says, I'm gonna keep him. And we use the word slave several times in the next couple scenes, I do want to say, and no one's like, hey, Russell, I don't know. I guess you don't like just say like remember slavery to people, but
not what this movie is about.
Yeah, it could have. Yeah.
So, and then Kyle remembers his grandfather telling his dad, if you get caught, make some sort of bet.
They love to bet.
Wager. They love to gamble, sort of thing. So Kyle remembers that, and Kyle says, all right, let's make a bet. And Seamus is all about that, and Kyle wants to bet on sports.
You have to be this is where we learn you have to be, just like, this is a lesson in a lot of movies about genies and things like that. You have to be very specific when you talk to them, because you can't be like, I wish I'll have a bunch of money, because what happens is, you know, your family dies and then you inherit their money. Right. So you have to be very specific. And Kyle's a little not specific enough because he says sports. Yeah. Well, Seamus snaps his little fingers. Evil. We're in Ireland. Evil leprechaun fingers.
We're doing Gaelic sports. We find out.
So fun.
It is very fun. And this is actually the scene of the movie that I remember most. I think I mentioned last week that there was one scene in particular, and it was this. My cousin used to do Scottish dancing, which I guess is a little bit different. And you would go and they would have like the Scottish games or whatever. And it was just like this, where you would have like big men flipping over trees, and like it was so, yeah. Anyway.
I know they like pick up. So yes, we do some Irish sports. We would play hurling, which is, I guess, similar to field hockey or lacrosse. I know has more Native American
crickety,
roots. Like, yeah, it's a little crickety. I'm sure any Irish person listening to this would be so annoyed if we just compared it to cricket. I want you to know. Up the rock.
All of our 12 listeners.
Exactly. And
but obviously Kyle and Russell are at a disadvantage because they don't even know the point of the game.
They don't.
They don't know, like, are we supposed to get the ball over there? If we take the ball over there, is that how we lose?
Right. So like at one point they catch what looks like a soccer ball, and Kyle's like, what do I do? And Russell and everyone, the other people are just run. There's also 5 people on the other team.
Right.
The
They're
5
like running at them.
Running at them. And Russell's like, punt. And he does, and they get a point and they win that round. Yeah, so but then they also have to throw a giant boulder and throw a big wheel from a carriage. So which Kyle loses both those rounds.
Yeah.
But then they do a running competition and Kyle loses the running one. And I was like, if he had our coach from Full Court Miracle making him do those sprints, Kyle could have won this running round. Okay.
Right.
So
that was actually something that I noted, because when I pull up the movies that we're gonna watch, I don't know why, but it's my thing. Like, I don't want to search for it. I just want to find it on my main page. And on my main page of Disney, it said basketball movies. And there are so many basketball movies.
Kids,
and that's
basketball.
That's where I found this. was.
I searched for it this time, but my Disney Plus has been recommending me DCOMs, obviously.
Yeah.
And this is one of the ones that's popped up right at the beginning before.
Oh, that's so fun. Okay, so they're competing, they're going back and forth. And what happens?
We tie.
There's a tie. And Seamus again reveals how tricky he is because Kyle is basically like, well, give me the necklace back.
We tied.
You know, yeah, we tied. Like I get it back. And Seamus is like, no. I said I would give it back to you if you won. So, and he didn't win. He didn't win. That's true. So Kyle decides, okay, let me pull him in with like a bigger bet, which is that if he loses basketball, specifically, right? That Seamus would get not only Grandpa, but Kyle as well. If Kyle loses, he would also wait, that was it. If Seamus
loses,
he will give the coin back to Kyle and also will be stuck forever in the shores of his father's land of Erie. Very funny.
Very funny. The dramatic irony is very funny. And it's, again, very well done.
It becomes even funnier later. Okay. Put a pin in that.
So we're at the state championships. But Kyle and Russell's a really good friend for missing the state championships.
Yeah.
For this. And Kyle and Russell were supposed to be here. We rock in. We're in overtime. We're huddling. The coach is like, where were you? And Russell's like, we were in Ireland. I don't think the coach should have let them play, frankly, but they are really.
And Kyle's just like, it doesn't matter, we're here. And so they go out, and the other team has been replaced with Seamus and his cronies.
And we see a visual from the refs' point of view, and they look like junior high children. So again, that's some of the tricky magic. Seamus is also wearing our lucky coin.
And Grandpa is hanging out on the top of one of the nets.
So distracting. Grandpa spends the entire time distracting these guys who are trying to win his freedom.
Right.
You just can't. I guess that's another thing about leprechauns. They just cannot stop talking.
Yeah. And so, so they're playing, obviously, the leprechauns with the luck are, kind of doing a little bit better. And then is it Grandpa that gives the coin to Russell? I can't remember.
Grandpa says, Russell, I have a lucky coin.
Yeah, I have a lucky coin for you, and gives Russell a coin. Russell's like, oh, awesome, now we're gonna win. And it's not a lucky coin. The whole thing is that sometimes you just need to give some people some confidence, which I agree with. Placebo effect is real. So
placebo effect is real.
So then Russell starts, he's really.
Grandpa says, kid that believes in leprechauns will believe in anything. You are actually a leprechaun. They're real. Grandpa has some amazing lines. Also, like, when he realizes the coin is missing, he starts playing a flute.
Yeah.
And Bonnie is like, did you have to play this flute? And he goes, I'm Irish. Like, it's how I show despair. And then when he's talking about Seamus, he says, like, he's so tricky with his words, he'd make a lawyer tell the truth. Thought that was very funny. And my dad was a lawyer, so I thought my dad probably would have thought that line was very funny too.
So they're playing back and forth, and eventually Kyle wins. I don't know. There's not much more.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of intense back and forth, whatever.
Except here's what happens when the tide kind of turns and Kyle and his team starts winning. At one point, Seamus looks at the ground, and then he looks up, and his eyes are like a neon green.
Yeah, it's scary.
And that was where I was like, and that's what made me look up when Leprechaun
When did Leprechaun come out?
1993. So it was 8 years before this. But I'm sure this was still in the consciousness because there was Leprechaun 2 and 3.
I think Leprechaun in the Hood was 2000.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, so that's what then when that
starring
happens.
Ice-T.
Really?
Yeah.
Leprechaun 4? That's so funny.
Leprechaun 4 in the Hood. 2000 starring Ice-T.
So that's when you get the sense that, oh, he's not just like a bad leprechaun, he's like an evil leprechaun.
Yes. This is,
Or
oh, sorry,
fairy
it's
or whatever
Leprechaun
he is.
5 in the hood. I've
Okay.
been corrected by myself. Yes, he is a Fey Derek, according to
Right.
Wikipedia, is not a nice person, and sometimes they replace babies with changelings, which they think
Terrifying.
is they call this a practical joke. I would have to disagree with that entirely. But anywho, not a nice guy, evil leprechaun, according to
So
Wikipedia.
eventually Kyle ends up winning. Um the Seamus, he pretty freely gives him the coin, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have to stick to your word, I think, if you're a leprechaun. They're
And
not
then
liars.
grandfather shows up and Kyle's like, all right, like, and now you have to go to the land of my fathers. And Seamus is
And the
like,
leprechaun, Seamus is like, whatever. I have a whole bunch of gold in a cave, and I've got a whole bunch of gold in my truck, and whatever. And I'm
and
gonna go to
I
Ireland,
love Ireland.
and I'm gonna be king of the leprechauns.
And that is when Kyle and he includes the line, you really need to learn how to say the land of your fathers. It's Ira, which is spelled similar to Erie.
Right.
And that's when Kyle says, no, Ira is not the land of my fathers. Erie in Ohio is.
My dad's from Cleveland.
My dad's from Cleveland.
And the leprechaun's like, no.
And then
And
he
then we see him like
magically,
shoot into space, and he's in the water in Cleveland.
yeah.
And
Which was genuinely funny.
so funny. And that I was like, that is why my dad loved this movie. My dad hated Ohio. Go blue. And I was just like, of course, like I had such a great time. That ending was so funny. And then we skip to, did you have anything else to say about basketball game?
I did not. Nope.
Okay, then we skip to our heritage thing. Kyle's step dancing and wearing a Cleveland Browns shirt, which I thought was so funny.
It is funny.
And then, oh, at the end of the basketball game, I'm sorry, Grandpa goes to Bonnie's dad, and he's like, oh, Bonnie's dad's like, where the heck were you? Fair question. Where the heck has she been? Call your parents. And he's like, oh, she's been interviewing for like, we want to give her a college scholarship. We want her to be well-rounded though, like, so she plays sports, so now her dad's gonna let her play basketball. But then Grandpa says, aren't we so lucky to live in America where anyone can do anything? And I was like, give me a hot dog and an apple pie, Grandpa. Like,
and
you're selling me.
and then I would say this is the second thing that was emblazoned in my memory. After Kyle finishes step dancing, he says, but really, we live in America. And Bonnie comes out and they sing
like a cappella. They sing. And poor Ryan Merriman is not a singer. That's like if they said, Kelsey, you're gonna do some, he's an amazing step dancer. But after you do some amazing step dancing, we want you to just sing This Land is Your Land. I can't breathe.
It's so good.
It's so great.
And
why?
I cannot believe that this was pre 9/11.
I know. That's when I looked it up to double check, because I was like, I thought this came out in 2001.
This is October 2001 levels of patriotism.
No, literally. This is like giving, like, what did the director know? Why didn't he warn anyone?
Oh my god.
Because yes, he sings it, and then Bonnie comes out and she sings it, and then good old dad from Cleveland stands up.
Yeah, and then everyone stands up, and it's this whole moment of everyone.
And we see Russell's dad stand up. Were you like that? Russell's dad's gigantic. His dad is Thurl Bailey.
There's the Native Americans. It's just like this big moment of, you know what? We all have different backgrounds, but we all are American. Like
God bless America.
This is I cannot believe that this
I cannot believe. You thought they were going to drive a Ford on screen and drink a Miller Lite. I mean, it was, I don't know how else to describe the scene.
It was, yeah. And so, and then it just so ends. Out of nowhere.
So out of nowhere.
Like, I don't, like, because it's almost like they had this movie planned, and then 9/11 happened, and they were like, this movie that we already have planned, we can also say this message. Right?
But that's not even what happened.
Because the whole being American really wasn't relevant to any of it.
No. It's like a glitch in the Matrix that this came out in March of 2001 and not March of 2002.
It's
so odd. Russell's dad is played by Thurl Bailey, who was a professional basketball player. He's 6'11", and he played for 16 years, just
Wow.
for fun fact.
Yep. That's amazing.
He's an NCAA champion when he played. I think he played for UNC.
College.
Yep.
Yeah, so
So
this movie, quite honestly, it has everything.
It's got humor, it's got magic, it's got leprechauns, no
got
romance.
horror.
The dad and mom love each other. I didn't need romance. Oh, it's got horror. Like, I was afraid. It's got good, like I said, the cinematography, the background music. And that's the thing, when it's like Irish, we get like the Irish folky, like a fiddle and stuff like that in the background, and the flute and everything in the background. Grandpa plays bagpipes when he's sad at one point. He's like, oh, I don't have a spare tire in my car, but I do have bagpipes to play because I'm sad, and my trunk is full of shoes. Okay, Grandpa,
we never do find out about the shoes.
He's just really into shoes, I guess. Same, Grandpa, but
okay.
My trunk isn't full of them. I have a spare tire,
so what? How many Disney Wand IDs, Kels?
I had so much fun, and I had such a great time, and I'm gonna have to just dock a point for the fact that we did not discuss like slavery. So I'm giving it 9 out of 10, and I will probably watch it every year.
I don't even care. I'm giving it 10 out of 10. Like,
it was so fun, and I'm probably gonna watch it every year, and I'm gonna make my kid watch it, my son not watch it next week, and I don't care how much he wants to watch
that's it. I hear you that they could have made more use of that. In 2001, we just weren't there.
It's true.
With seeing that, and
I think the problem with doing High School Musical so early is that everything we watch now, I watch it and I think, well, but you're not.
Well, but that's the thing in my mind. I'm like, this. I can't think of anything.
High School Musical.
Oh yeah. This is a unique movie film.
It's so unique,
if you will.
It was remade in 2012 in Hindi with a completely Indian cast.
That's fascinating.
I want to watch that. Like, can we get a copy, I wonder?
Please. Yeah, that this is just it's funny, it's pure. Like,
it is.
It's just pure humor. Like,
it's good. It is, like,
there's physical comedy, there's the lines, there's the characters are just absurd.
Yeah, it's surrealist, and they go with it. They're like, yeah, mom's making blood pudding. Oh, at one point Seamus throws corned beef and cabbage on them because why not? We're Irish. We've got a bunch of corned beef and cabbage hanging around. Just throw it at them.
And it's just like all of the characters are so absurd that the normal one seems like the weird one.
Yeah,
which I just love.
Irish, they must have worked with a dialects coach. The Irish accents are so good. None of them are actually Irish, from Ireland.
Yeah.
And the step dancing is great. It's so well done.
It's
so fun.
It's so good. Yeah. So
and Ryan does learn that he was good all along, and that then he wears his lucky coin again, and he's lucky, and he's amazing anyway. So it's also like, okay, so what?
Yeah. No, I thought it was just fantastic. Yeah, so I'm giving it a 10.
10 out of
10. That's where I'm
sticking with my 9, but I'll bump her up. I'll give him a 9.5. It's so fun. For the context of the fact that it was made in 2001. If it was made today, I'm sure that they would have included some sort of conversation about race.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I don't know if it would be made today. I don't know.
So many of these wouldn't be.
So, yeah, because this was just ridiculous. And ridiculous in that, even though it was 2001, but in the 90s and early aughts, the way that family movies just were, where there was
in a way that they are not today. I think streaming has really killed all of this. And
well, and I think
and the tickety talk, like we said about Xenon, because of TikTok and streaming, I don't know if the youth of today would have gone for Xenon the way that we did and do, because I've had so much fun watching Xenon.
Quite frankly, aren't we seeing it that the DCOM is kind of out?
Yeah.
That really, they're releasing movies and calling them DCOMs, but they're not really DCOMs. It's just they're Disney Plus movies that they're releasing on Disney Channel the day before.
Right.
Like the true DCOM, I think, is done.
I agree.
Because families don't watch TV together anymore. It's just not really
It's
what's
true.
done.
People either have a bunch of TVs in their house, or everyone has their own tablet or phone or computer that they're watching. There's not a need to have one TV and be watching one thing together, unless you force that need. For example, I have one TV in my house, and my son isn't allowed to have his tablet like during the week. So it's a forced thing that we're watching stuff together. And frankly, I'm not having fun because I'm sick of Blaze the Monster Machine and Blippi.
So, right, exactly.
Which is where DCOMs came in, because like I just said, my dad loved this movie. My mom, I remember watching this movie in the kitchen with my mom while she cooked Irish stew.
I watched a lot of DCOMs with my parents for sure. That in particular my mom. Yeah. And like I know we watched Miracle in Lane 2, and the other big one was with Beverly Mitchell, which is, I can't remember what that one is. We'll get to it. But yeah, there not really any noticeable passion for fashion things. Did you have anything that you wanted to?
No, I mean, Bonnie wears a fake white snakeskin jacket at some point, and I thought, I love that. I would wear that. Otherwise, he wears a bucket hat.
Oh, he does.
And then because then he takes it off and we see that his
bucket hats are back.
And bucket hats are back. So I thought, hey, Rocket Babe. And that's about it.
Yeah.
I mean, we got some leprechaun-y outfits, but
yeah,
they weren't amazing. They didn't stand out to me like the elf outfits in the Christmas movie did.
Right. Yeah, they were just low key, neutral colors and whatnot. All right. So any closing thoughts?
Nope, I hit everything.
Yeah, this was a good one.
Tons of fun.
I think we're gonna hopefully see some, like I said, Can of Worms. I think 13th Year, we'll see some similar types of humor and a little bit of surrealism. So hope you're in it for the long haul, because we're booked to April 2026.
2026.
All right, this has been Go Big or Go DCOM.
Wait, next week is our beginning. So we're going back to Women's History Month next week.
Yes.
We are going to do a Kim Possible, not a showdown, because we don't like to pit women against each
double
other.
Feature.
Just a 2-week Kim Possible double feature. Our first one will be I believe it's 2018 live action Kim Possible for next Monday. The following Monday will be the animated movie Kim Possible, so the drama. So next week, live action 2018 movie Kim Possible.
Be there. Be square.
Exactly.
So now this has been Go Big or Go DCOM. If you want to connect
St. Patrick's Day.
I had to say my thing.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm not going to edit this out. This has been Go Big or Go DCOM. You can connect with us at orgodcom.substack.com. You can watch. We're having we have quite a good back library now.
We do.
So you can connect with that on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. All right, now. I am Cece Chigoni.
I'm Kelsey Bowman.
This has been Go Big or Go DCOM.
Bye.
Are you going to say it now?
Happy St. Patrick's Day.